Good morning, everybody. Good morning. July 27th. This is IRCC channel where we answer all of your questions live regarding Canadian immigration. We talk about all the updated news, what changes in the programs, and basically the way it would work is you post your question in the comment section and we're happy to answer it live. Again, anything related to Canadian immigration, studying, working, investing, applying, refusals, restorations, judicial reviews, appeals, you name it, family sponsorships, we're here to help you out. There's a lot of news coming out of IRCC in the last 1 week. So we're going to do a quick recap. We'll probably do another recap halfway through, let's say just before 9:20 for our late viewers. We're here every Tuesday, 9 a.m., 5 a.m. Eastern, North America, Eastern Standard Time to answer all of your questions. So if you don't know how it works, feel free to post a question in the comments. We'll be happy to answer. So we're going to jump in and we're going to start talking about what's going on. So a few things. Express entry, there was a draw July 22nd for 357. So the points did go up and eventually the points did drop a little bit to 357 for Canadian experience class. So the Canadian government has issued a record. So during between April to June, they have issued 44,591 invitations under express entry for provincial nominations and Canadian experience class. This was even higher than the first quarter between January to March of 44,000. So if you compare it to the previous years, this is even more significant. So what's happened so far is that the Canadian government has issued 88,715 invitations under express entry this year up to, let's say, June. Okay, so that's a lot of invitations, or I think up to July, the latest one. That is a huge record. And this is all Canadian experience class and provincial nominations. Right? So if you're in that group, you're a lucky few that is able to apply for your permanent residency. So again, huge record. Express entry has invited this year 88,715 applicants to apply for their PR, right? And if you're asking about PR processing time, we've seen 3.5 to 6 months. I've heard people say 2 months. Maybe, why not? But it technically shouldn't take more than 6 months unless your file is complicated, you're missing documentation, and so forth. Okay, so the target for Canadian immigration this year was 401,000 PRs, permanent residents, into Canada. But so far, only 91,580 people have received their PRs, okay, and arrived or are inside the country. So imagine that, 401,000, 91,580. There's about a 308,420 person gap in terms of PRs. They're under process. Even the TR to PR pathways, there's about what, like maybe 70,000 of those ready, or 60,000. So that number will increase towards the end of the year, but that gives you an idea what's going on. TR to PR pathway. So if you are a TR to PR pathway applicant, instructions have been sent. So Miguel, you've arrived at this at the right time. So instructions have been sent on how to apply for your work permit. Okay, so if you were an applicant for a permanent residency under the TR to PR pathway, okay, and your work permit is expiring, you are able to apply for an open work permit, but you only need to pay $155, not $255. Specific instructions have been posted on the IRCC, which is the Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada website, which handles all of the Canadian immigration policies and regulations, on how to apply. If you don't know, reach out to us on our website, email, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We'd be happy to share the link. But it's pretty straightforward. You have to be eligible. So at the time of your TR to PR pathway, okay, when you've applied, you should have been employed at that time. You should have already had your language proficiency. You should have been having a valid status to work at that time inside of Canada. And of course, you should have been inside of Canada. Okay, so I'm going to go through those eligibility criteria once more, just in case you missed that. Let's see. So basically, you should, okay, eligibility for the open work permit, in case your work permit is expiring, if you're a TR to PR pathway applicant who's already applied. So proof of language test. So you should have had that at the time of applying. Proof of authorized work, right? So you should have had a reference letter plus your work permit, authorization to work, or your study permit because you're allowed to study, work part-time, right? So those are the key things. You should have been inside of Canada. You should have had valid status. You should have applied and met the eligibility criteria, okay? So family members. So if you have family members and you're a TR to PR pathway applicant, you're inside of Canada, they would be eligible to extend their work permit too, right? So you have to apply. There's instructions now on how to do that. The family members should be inside of Canada if they want a work permit or an extension of that, right? You have to be a family member, dependent under the age of 22, dependent, plus partner, spouse, common law, something that basically proves that they are family members. Should be accompanying, and you cannot apply for work permit if you're under the age of 18, of course, right? So these are things that you have to know, that the instructions are now issued on how to apply for your TR to PR work permit. So if your work permit is expiring soon, make sure you apply for under the new program instructions. It's basically the same process. You go create your GC key if you already don't have one. If you don't know what a GC key is, then feel free to reach out to us. So what will happen is that there is a specific program you select, work permit, you pay $155, do not pay $255 under this program, specific instructions. You should meet all the eligibility criteria as I've explained, and you will be eligible for work permit, which will be valid until December 31st, 2022, okay? So that's key. So we got some questions here on our Instagram. People on our YouTube are asleep. Facebook, hello everybody. So Navjot1410, can you explain the eligibility for experienced class express entry? Of course. So express entry is a skilled immigration stream that gives you points. Canadian experience class is a specific stream under this skilled immigration stream. Typically, applicants from outside and inside of Canada who are eligible can enter the pool. This year, only people with minimum 1 year authorized Canadian work experience in NOC 0A or B would have eligibility to fall under CEC, the Canadian experience class. Okay, so that means that if you have 11 months or 10 months or 11 and a half months of Canadian work experience, you won't be eligible to fall in that category. You may be eligible to be in the express entry pool, but not under the Canadian experience class. Your work experience could be part-time, it could be different jobs, it could be accumulated over the last several years, right? It has to be in a NOC 0AB. So if you're working in retail and you're not a supervisor, that's a NOC C. If you're in a call center answering calls, a customer representative, that's a NOC C. So it will not be eligible. Canadian experience class is based on the fact that you have minimum 1 year Canadian work experience. It could be accumulated over different jobs, part-time, work time. That's 1,560 hours minus your vacation pay, depending on your employer and the province you're in. Okay, so I hope I've explained that. If you already have Canadian experience and you're now outside of Canada, you can still fall into that category and be invited to apply. But if you are inside of Canada and you don't have the Canadian experience class and you are not nominated by province, then again, you're probably not going to be selected this year. Okay. So let's look at some questions on our Instagram, because that is where everybody's very active, unlike Facebook and YouTube. Can I have 1 year work experience of 2 different NOCs? Yes, it's possible. Your NOC codes have to be 0, A, or B. Mutuku Kialo has a question on our Instagram. He or she is asking, I applied as an international graduate under the TR to PR. If I resign my current job to look for another job, does it disqualify me? No. At the time of application, you should have been working and you have to have proof of that. So don't quit your job unless you have all those documents, and then you can quit and look for a new job. Okay. So this is all updated information. There's another update regarding the grandparents and parent sponsorship. So a IRCC has announced that they are inviting 30,000 Canadians, so permanent residents and citizens, who were in the sponsorship pool from the year 2020, last year, to allow them to sponsor their parents or grandparents. So if you're a permanent resident or citizen and they have made the minimum income exemption for last year during COVID. So that's big news for people who want to sponsor their parents and grandparents. And remember, you cannot do that if you're an international student. You cannot do that if you're an international worker or temporary resident here. You have to be a Canadian PR. You have to be a citizen, and you have to have minimum 3 years of proven income. And last year, there's an exemption to the minimum LICO plus 30%. They have a table. Okay. As of September 20th, these invitations for the people who were in the pool last year will be sent and processing will begin. Okay. So anybody who's joined us now, the way it works, post your comments, post your questions in the comments section, and that's where we'll actually be able to give you answers to your questions. Whether you want to study language here, whether you don't have an IELTS and you want to come and study in Canada, whether it's a visa, business immigration, sponsorship, restoration, postgraduate work permit, closed work permit, LMIAs, whatever question you have, school admissions, we're here to help. Student direct stream, which was announced recently for Latin American and the Caribbean islands, plus Costa Rica. So do we have any more questions on our Instagram? If there's no more questions, well, that allows me to blab on further. But as I said, we're here every Tuesday, everybody, 9 a.m., 5 p.m. So if you missed today's session, we're here next week. I'm here 5 p.m. again. We're going to have some guest speakers next week. Okay, we're going to talk about student direct stream. So in case you missed the beginning of the session, post your questions in the comment section, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Express entry, 357 points. If you don't have your express entry profile, either make it yourself. You need help, we'll be happy to help as well. Some people like do it yourself. Some people do it themselves and then do a consultation with us and we answer their questions, right? Could be 30 minutes, 60 minutes, relatively affordable. So make sure if you have your Canadian experience class, Canadian experience of 1 year, and you have the rest of the eligibility, like your language score, education credential assessments, you can fall into you enter the express entry pool. If you're not in the express entry pool, your chances are 0. There's no way you're going to get an invitation. Okay. So if you apply for TR to PR pathway, great. As I said, the Canadian government has announced how to extend your work permit under that program. So if your work permit is expiring, instructions have been posted yesterday. Okay. This is very important. So if there's any other question, Mutuku Kialo is asking, I am not able to track my application on the GC website. Any reason for this? There is no tracking of the TR to PR pathway as of today. Tomorrow that could change. This afternoon that could change. As of July 27th, 9:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there is no tracking or processing update on your GCK account or the IRCC website. We do expect some updates by September, but again, we could be wrong. So don't worry, everybody is in the same boat, okay? You will not receive any update as of today. Nobody has received any update as of today, okay? So if you're worried about your parents, grandparents sponsorship, you're Canadian inside of Canada, reach out to us. Express entry, if you're not sure, if you receive an invitation to apply and your 1 year work experience is not complete, yes, that's possible. You will be refused on that technicality. So watch out. I've had people come in, and what's happened is their Canadian experience class, let's say, is done in September, but they're going to receive an invitation to apply in July or August. Then they're like, hey, the government has invited me, so I will accept the invitation to apply in express entry, Canadian experience class. And then they apply, they pay, they get refused because there is a glitch in the express entry system. So if you need help on that, reach out to us. If you need help to apply for your open work permit under the TR to PR pathway, reach out to us, okay? If you are under any eligible programs, but you're not sure about your eligibility, you can reach out to us as well. We're here every Tuesday to answer your questions, right, folks? So that's for you. We're not here to entertain you. We're actually here to help you out, okay? You'll probably be watching the recording of this later on. You can fast forward, rewind. That'll be good because I do talk a lot. But as I said, you can comment on our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and we'd be happy to help you out. Okay? Whether it's about college, university, pathway, language schools, restorations, visas, refusals. It's huge. A lot of embassies are refusing. A lot of embassies are not. Depends on your nationality. You want to come here and buy a business, be an investor, work permit. Of course, that's possible. But you have to know. You have to reverse engineer your path to permanent residence. You cannot just come here and hope for the best. That's like throwing a Hail Mary in American football. Okay? You need to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you will face problems. Okay? So remember, minimum settlement funds for express entry were updated about 2-3 weeks ago. So if you are in the express entry pool, if you did receive an ITA already, you need to meet the minimum settlement funds that have been updated and increased as of 2021 July. Okay? So just make sure. Don't tell me I didn't warn you. Okay? And if you don't know who we are, we're licensed immigration from here in Toronto. We help applicants in Nova Scotia, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, BC, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, and Prince Edward Island. We are here to help you out. We are answering free questions that are posted on our comments section. Okay. As I said, we're here every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's the same time zone as Ottawa, Montreal, Florida, New York, Kingston, Toronto, of course. So that's that. If there's no more questions, we're going to sign off and we'll be back here at 5 p.m. again today. Thank you for watching, everybody. There will be a recording of this posted on our IGTV, on our Facebook, and of course on our YouTube. Okay, we're happy to help out. We're back here at 5 p.m. If you missed the questions or any issues, come back at 5, post your question. We'd be happy to answer. We're here to help you. Remember, we're not here to entertain. Okay, thanks again. Appreciate it, everybody. Have a good Tuesday, July 27th. I have to check the date, man. That's how sleepy I am today. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Instagram. Check you later.